Welcome to Lesson 12 of the Store Manager Academy. It's the last lesson of week 1. We're going to talk about resolving team conflicts. Now, before I go into the lesson, I want to personally thank you for investing into yourself by putting time into this academy and going through these modules. I want to caution you though, what you've learned so far is roughly 3% of what you're going to learn through the full academy. We have over 50 lessons over a 5-week period, and we are adding new modules, new lessons on a monthly basis, sometimes on a weekly basis. And if you're not on our weekly conference calls, I highly encourage you to jump onto those. You can, if you have a particular question that you just isn't answered in the academy, you can ask that question on the conference call and I will directly answer you, as well as other experts that will be on the call from time to time, regional managers, VPs, even CEOs. We'll have them on these calls every once in a while, and you can ask them those hard questions, those uncomfortable questions to help you improve your career. So I want to thank you for taking time out of your week to go through this first week. You got 4 weeks to go. Hope you'll go through the next 4 weeks of this academy. You'll get a certificate upon graduation. You'll even get a certificate code for your LinkedIn profile. And at the end of the day, this knowledge is going to help you improve your career. It's going to help you build a high-performance team, and it's going to help you get promoted and make a lot of money and help a lot of people along the way. So let's get right into the lesson, resolving team conflicts. Now, this lesson isn't about resolving individual conflicts, okay? I've got another lesson for that. This is about resolving a conflict between one employee and another, or one department to another. You need to know that every minute that goes by that you don't resolve a conflict is another minute, another minute lost, another cell lost, and potentially another employee. When you see there's a conflict between two people, you've got to address it immediately. Sometimes, best case scenario, you have employees that work out conflicts by themselves. But that's really the exception to the rule. When there's a real conflict going on in your store, you got to get in the middle of it. You've got to address it. And I'm going to walk you through the best way of doing it, okay? So step 1, you've got to understand what the conflict is about. Maybe you're hearing from 5 other employees that these 2 employees are not getting along, that John is talking poorly about Sally, and Sally really doesn't like John and thinks he's, a jerk. Whatever the conflict is. Maybe someone's not pulling their weight in a certain department, so your department manager is getting really upset, and he's telling all these other employees how Sally or Tim or whoever the employee is not pulling their weight, and he doesn't like that employee, and he just wishes that you would fire them. Lots of different conflicts. You can think of a million different ones, but at the end of the day, it's an unresolved issue that needs to be resolved. So the best thing you can do after step 1 is finding out what the conflict is about, is you bring in the people that are involved, the parties that are involved individually, and you talk to them. You hear them out. So if I've got a conflict with a department manager and an associate, the department manager really doesn't like the associate because the associate doesn't pull their weight each day. And then the associate doesn't like the department manager because he's a jerk and he's always talking bad about him, and he hears it on the back end by 5, 6 other employees. I can see why there's a conflict there, can't you? So you're going to bring in your department manager, you're going to sit down with him or her, and you're going to say, okay, I'm hearing things, I want to get your side of the story. At the end of the day, Mr. Department Manager, I need this resolved. We've got to resolve this conflict. I need your help. So let's talk about it. Be as blunt and as forward and professional as possible with this department manager. So you let your department manager air it out, right? Let him or her blow off some hot air, and then you really just need to get past that hot air, and you've got to dig into the actual issue. So Mr. or Mrs. Department Manager, why is this employee not performing in your department? Well, I don't know. He just doesn't do what he's supposed to do. Okay, what kind of training have you given him? So you just keep asking those open-ended questions. There's a saying, ask why at least 5 times. I don't know if that's true. You just got to peel back the onion. Let's just pretend your department manager is sitting right here, him or her, and just picture them as an onion, okay? Hopefully they don't smell like an onion. And your job, this conflict that's within them, your job is to peel back every layer of that onion until you get to the core of the issue, the core of the onion. And that's when you have something to work with. That's when you can get in there and say, okay, this is the actual issue. How do you think we can best address this, Mr. or Mrs. Department Manager? Or maybe it's an associate, an hourly associate. And you peel back the onion, you find out what the conflict is on their side, and you ask, hey, how do you think we can resolve this? So get their input. 80% of the time, they're gonna give you their honest input, and they'll be fine with how you're gonna resolve it. But a small percentage of them are gonna be really angry, and they're just gonna be like, I don't want to do anything until you fire that employee. That's when you're in a tougher situation. That's when you may need to get HR involved, depending on the issue. Okay? So, after you sat down with the one associate or department manager who's ever involved, you sit down with the other party and you go through the same process. Picture them as an onion, peel back the layers. You first let them vent, let them know why they're chatting with you today. Peel back that onion, get to the core issue, and now you have the core issue from both sides. And that's when you can mold together the best possible solution. Sometimes that solution is taking it to HR. Sometimes that solution is firing an employee. But most of the time it's just, okay, I hear both sides of the story. I now have come to this conclusion. Do you agree with me on that conclusion? Okay, now you'll either get both of those employees to sit down together and say, okay, you're going to moderate a discussion. Here's the issue John's having. Here's the issue Sally's having. Guys, at the end of the day, I need you to work together. I need you to be productive. You can't work together as a team. We're going to have to figure something else out. So right now is a perfect opportunity for us to address the issue on both sides and how we can come to a resolution in a professional manner. I want you guys to work together, plain and simple. If you can't, then we need to figure something else out. So you get them to talk to each other, work it out, moderate that discussion. When you see it's getting heated, you stop and say, okay, hold on. John, that's not what we're talking about, right? You told me this yesterday. This issue is going on. Now you're bringing up that. What is it? And then John might step back and say, okay, yep, you're right. It is this issue and that issue. And then you can bring the discussion back together. Now, there are some cases that you can't get them in the same room. I would try to do that as much as possible, but many times you just got to have resolutions for both parties, and you talk about those resolutions separately, get them to agree to it, and if you can, depending on how serious the issue is, you need to have everything in writing. So, John, this is your action plan of how we're going to resolve this. You agree to do X, Y, Z. You agree not to do these things, not to talk bad about Sally anymore. If you do, this is the disciplinary action that will happen. Sally, John, I've already spoken to John. We've come to a resolution. He's on the same page. This is what I need from you. You've got to, after this has been resolved, you can't bring it up again unless it starts happening again, right? But you can't, if John's been talking poorly about you in the past and we've resolved it now, and then you start telling people that you don't like John because he did talk about you in the past, then we have an issue, right? So we all need to be on the same page. We all need to come to a resolution, and we need to move forward. That is really the nuts and bolts of resolving team conflict. Again, not every conflict can be resolved in your store and be managed that way. Sometimes, if it's a serious issue, like harassment, you have to get HR involved, and you'll be many times the mediator or facilitator of certain discussions and interviews, and you'll more than likely be the person that let go somebody if it's a serious issue. But outside of the getting someone else involved, HR or upper management, if it's just small conflicts where people are talking bad about each other, or someone's not pulling their weight, or this person's not happy with the way that person's handling customers, those you can resolve in your store if you follow these steps. It's really simple. You just it just comes back to really just you're there to help them. You're there to address the issue. You don't want it to continue. They don't want the issue to continue. So let's just take care of it today. Let's just move forward. Let's do our job. Let's take care of our customers, and let's provide for our families, and let's make a better income for all of us. That's it, guys. Now, week 2 is jam-packed with a ton of material. We're talking about building the right culture in your store, which will help you build a high-performance team and be profitable. We're going to talk about key performance focus, focusing on the key performance indicators that your company measures you and your team on, how to focus on them, how to achieve high results, and how to win. We're going to talk about front-end management, back-end management, sales floor management. We'll be talking about managing the different age groups. So many of you that are watching this right now, I know for a fact, are anywhere from the ages 18 to 35. So many of you are managing people from ages 17 upwards to ages 70, even 90. And you need to know how to manage different age groups because you have to manage the age groups differently. And we'll walk you through that. We're going to talk about using your passion to build your business, to build the high-performance culture, to build your team. You need to have passion, you need to be passionate, and you need to show your passion, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the 3 principles of retail. The 3 principles that are going to make you successful. We're going to talk about delegating to develop. We're going to talk about goal setting and performance management. And that's just week 2. If you look down below, and you might have received an email today, you have all the lessons laid out for week 2, week 3, week 4, and week 5. And for those of you that are really trying to grow your career quickly, we also have a District Manager Academy, multi-unit manager academy. So once you've completed the Store Manager Academy and you've applied those principles, you'll see how quickly it's going to get you promoted to a multi-unit position. In fact, the last lesson of the Store Manager Academy is all about getting promoted to a district manager position or a corporate position. So we have a District Manager Academy just for you, for those that are trying to move up the corporate ladder as quick as possible and leaving a trail of winners behind you. Thank you again for investing your time into the Store Manager Academy. I hope to see you on the next lesson in week 2, and I really would love to see you guys on our weekly conference calls so we can talk about building high-performance teams, helping you get promoted to live your dream, to have the income that you want, to live your dream, to travel the world, and to take care of your family. This is how you're going to do it, by applying the principles you'll learn through this academy. Thank you again, and I look forward to hearing you on the conference calls and seeing you on the next module in week 2. Thank you.